Hey guys, I have an AP government test coming up really soon, and so I thought I would show you all what I'm doing to prepare for it. The first thing I did was take out my bullet journal and I quickly made a list of all of the topics that I wanted to double check or review on, since this test is going to span over 3 chapters in my textbook. And I also made a list of the things that I wanted to do to make sure I covered all of the material that I wanted to cover. And I find that doing this before I study is just a really great way to organize myself and make sure I cover everything that I want to. After writing down everything in my bullet journal, I quickly go ahead and begin studying. The first thing I did was open up my little vocabulary journal, and I've talked about this multiple times, especially in my recent video on tips on note-taking. And like I said in that video, I really like using this method to take notes for my vocab-heavy classes because I can really test myself using it, and that's exactly what I do right here, is just flip back and forth between the term and the definition and just really reinforcing my memory of each and every term. And as I go along, if there's a term that I don't really recall as well as I'd like to, I just use a pencil and draw an arrow or an asterisk to remember to go back and review that once again. But I think that this method works well for me. It's very similar to flashcards and serves the same purpose, so that's why I start out with that, just to see what I don't know off the top of my head. Next, I move on to my larger spiral notebook, and in there I have both my lecture notes that I take in class, as well as the notes I take as I read the textbook using the focus questions I get from my teacher. And I kind of structure this time the same way I do for my vocab journal, where I flip back and forth between the questions and answers for my reading notes, and I really try to test myself of all the information, just making sure that I really can understand what I do and what I do not know, so I can fully review that more later on. After I go through all 3 of those chapters, I also go back and I double check by using a pencil, and I mark anything I don't know, and I also go back and reread through my lecture notes just to reinforce the information once more. Since I started to get really sleepy and super bored with AP Government, I decided to take a 10-minute break just to refresh my mind. During those 10 minutes, I got a snack and I checked up on Instagram and Snapchat and Tumblr, just catching up with everything from the day. Once I get back to work, I immediately get out my laptop, and the first thing I do is open up Quizlet, and I use a lot of pre-made sets just to use all of the different modes on, like the practice tests, the games, flashcards, the learn mode, etc. And I find that this is just really useful for me because I see the material in a slightly different way. After I do that, I go onto YouTube and I search up the crash course videos and videos like that, where I just watch 1 or 2 of them to really just double check my comprehension of all of the information I need to know for my test. This is useful for me personally because I am an auditory learner, which means that I process information really, really well when I hear it. And after I do that, I go to my online textbook and I go through some practice quizzes on there and reread a couple passages from the book itself. And I find that just seeing information and processing information in different ways, even when it's the same content, is so useful for me, just because I think that social studies like history and government are super fact-based and are heavily based on memorization. So if you see the material in many different ways, it's going to help you be successful in the class. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday. You can add me on Snapchat and follow me on Instagram and my Tumblr account. Bye guys!